Welcome to the Knowledge Seeker channel. The channel is dedicated to exploring critical issues in the world. As such, this channel is not afraid to challenge existing facts, beliefs, and practices in order to contribute to the advancement of knowledge in the world. Today's presentation is titled, Were the Oyo School Children Rescued or Released? Where is the picture of the abductors? The public wants to know. This is the picture of the victims of the Oyo abduction. They look happy. They look relieved. There are some Nigerians who believe that this is a stage picture, that these children look too clean, too happy to have just been released from the kidnappers' den. So you make up your mind when you look at this picture very carefully. Here you have a newspaper headline. The title is Kidnappers Arrested Without Pictures to Show. You see, even Nigerian journalists raised the issue of why the Nigerian government will arrest the abductors without showing their pictures or parade them for the public to see. So this is a question that the federal government must answer, and especially the Nigerian army. Where are the pictures of the kidnappers? The purpose of this presentation is to achieve two goals. One, to interrogate the narrative being spread about the rescue of the Oyo school children. The question is, were the children rescued or released? To accomplish the goals of the presentation, the following arguments are made. One, the narrative concerning the kidnapping and the rescue of the Oyo school children seemed to be staged to create political impact. Two, the motive for the kidnapping seemed to be borrowed from the Chibok girls' abduction in April 2014. Three, the explanation for the rescue of the victims seemed similar to the explanation for the rescue of the Kankara school children that were abducted during Buhari administration. 4. Where is the pictures of the captured kidnappers? And 5. If there is no picture, it means that the victims were released through negotiation. The 5 items raised in the argument are used as the basis for exploring the question of whether the abducted Oyo school children were rescued or released in a negotiated settlement. 1. The narrative concerning the kidnapping and the rescue of the Oyo school children seemed to be staged to create political impact. And there are many different ways to look at this. A. The abduction of the school officials and children took place immediately Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State announced a plan to contest for the presidency in 2027. B. The children were swiftly taken away without any detection. C. Then they are rescued after more than 50 days in captivity. D. The school principal and the children thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu without thanking the governor and the traditional leaders of the state. They repeatedly call him, that is President Tinubu, a father. E. The impression is that the president is actively involved in solving the insecurity problem in Nigeria. So they are using this story to create a positive impact for President Tinubu. 2. The motive for the kidnapping seemed to be borrowed from the Chibok girls' abduction playbook. And there are many ways to look at it. A. The Chibok girls' abduction was intended to destroy President Goodluck Jonathan's re-election bid by making him incapable of managing the security situation in the country. Hence, the Chibok girls incident was globalized to make President Jonathan look very bad. B. In the Oyo school children abduction, the target seemed to be Governor Seyi Makinde in an effort to discourage him from running for the presidency against President Tinubu. Thus, the Oyo school children's abduction is taken from the playbook of the Chibok girls' abduction. This is the picture of the Chibok girls that were adopted in April 2014. More than 200 of them were abducted at once in a security zone that was under military emergency, and nobody could detect how the kidnappers were able to transport them all away, and they disappear into thin air and never to be found for years. 3. The rescue of the victims seemed similar to the rescue of the Kankara school students that were abducted during Buhari administration. The narrative the government is putting out on how the school children were rescued is very similar to the narrative that the defense headquarters put out when the 344 students of the government science secondary school were released. The defense headquarters at the time stated that the Kankara students were rescued through a combined military and police action. The military did not publish the pictures of the abductors who kidnapped the students. The government did not try the abductors who kidnapped the students. So nobody know what happened to the kidnappers after the 344 students were released. On the supposed military rescue of the kidnapped Kankara students, Punch reporter Adelani Adepegba reported, and I quote, "The defense headquarters has claimed that troops rescued the over 300 students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina, abducted by bandits on December 11. The defense headquarters spokesman, Major General John Enenche, in a statement on Friday, said the military has kept its promises of ensuring the rescue of the hostages, and are unquote. However, contrary to the Defense Headquarters statement, Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State revealed that it was Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, that is MACBAN, that negotiated the release of the Kankara students and not the military. You see, the governor of Katsina State openly stated that ransom was not paid to release the students. In the Oyo school children abduction, Nigerians are told some of the abductors were killed and others were captured, but neither the Nigerian army nor the federal government has shown the pictures of the captured kidnappers. Why? What are they hiding? They should show the pictures of the kidnappers in order to convince Nigerians that actually the children were rescued. 4. Where is the pictures of the captured kidnappers? As stated above, in the Kankara rescue operation, the defense headquarters did not show the pictures of the abductors captured following the rescue operation. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the Nigerian army, which speaks for the security team that rescued the Oyo children, to show the pictures of the captured abductors to convince Nigerians that a military rescue operation really took place. Again, where are the pictures of the captured kidnappers? This is very, very important if Nigerians are to believe what the federal government is saying about the Oyo children's kidnapping. Then they have to show the pictures. 5. The video being shown as evidence of the capture of the abductors is a documentary. The video, as shown by Adams Link Media's Nigerian Army Arrest Yoruba Fulani Bandits, Chizi Media's How Nigerian Army Rescued Oyo State School Children and Bandits, and Killer Igbo Lives Watch How the Nigerian Military Rescued the Abducted Oyo School Children, is a documentary of how the security forces rehearsed the action they took. It does not show the capture and the faces of the actual abductors. What the security forces and the DSS need to do is simply show the full pictures of the abductors of the Oyo school children. Simple. No need for a promotional documentary to show how effective are the Nigerian security forces. It is too propagandistic. In the documentary, only 2 or 3 alleged suspects are shown with their faces covered. Why are their faces covered? Generally, when the military and the police catch suspects and parade them, the faces are not covered. Again, why are the faces covered if actually they were the culprits in the Oyo kidnapping? Some of the scenes in the documentary come from other security operations and not from the rescue of the Oyo school children. As you can see, both the picture on the left and the picture on the right shows where Nigerian police force parades suspects that have been arrested in various crimes. You see how they display them? That is how the kidnappers of the or your school girls supposed to be paraded, either by the Nigerian police or by the DSS, for Nigerians to truly believe that yes, indeed, the Oyo school children were actually rescued through military operation. So far, the government has failed to show the pictures of the kidnappers. And that raises a lot of questions. 6. If there is no picture, it means that the victims were released and not rescued. Since the presidency and the Nigerian army failed to show the pictures of the captured abductors, it means that the children were released through negotiation and not rescued militarily. It is impossible to carry out a security operation without capturing the culprits. Indeed, if it was a rescue operation, then show the pictures of the accused. 7. The story does not add up. The story told by a government security expert is that family members of the abductors were rounded up. The arrested family members were used to compel the kidnappers to release the abductees. If the kidnappers were psychologically forced to release the victims, then why was there a shootout which resulted in the deaths of a security personnel and some of the kidnappers? Moreover, the rescued children appeared clean and sharp, as if they were not in the forest for 56 days. The picture of the victims of the Ekiti church abduction showed clearly that they were really in the kidnappers' den for 67 days. They looked dirty, hungry, emaciated, and could barely walk. On the other hand, the Oyo kidnapped victims are very healthy, well-fed, and wore clean clothes. The Ekiti victims clearly showed that they were indeed seriously victimized by their abduction, while the victims of the Oyo abduction looked healthy and well kept. Please look at this picture again. The release of Oyo school kidnapped victims. You see, they are even smiling and laughing. How can children who were in the forest for 50 to 56 days be looking clean, relaxed, and smiling? Is that possible? There is no sign of any psychological trauma if you look at this picture very closely. On the other hand, look at the picture of the released Ekiti kidnapped victims. You see how they looked? You see, they look hungry, tired, exhausted, weak. So when you see this picture, you compare to the previous, you know that there is something wrong with the previous, with the Oyo schoolgirl's picture compared to the Ekiti kidnapping incident. Here you look at them again, you see, look at the children. They look lean, they look totally exhausted. Some of them could barely walk. So if again you look, you know that yes, these people in this picture really were kidnapped and were kept in the forest for 50 or 60 or 65 days. Look at it. Look how hungry they look. So the picture for your school children kidnapping, that picture is not very convincing. Something has to be done to that picture compared to the Ekiti. Conclusion. 1. The Oyo school children abduction was politically motivated like the Chibok girls abduction. 2. In the Chibok girls case, the purpose was to destroy President Jonathan's chance of winning re-election. 3. In the Oyo school children abduction, the motive appeared to be to discourage Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State from running for the presidency in 2027. The way the school head and the children thanked President Tinubu and not the governor showed that the rescue was intended to boost the president's re-election effort. It was rehearsed and staged. 4. The story of the way in which the Oyo school children were rescued is taken from the playbook of the rescue of the 344 students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, Katsina State. The Kankara students were supposedly rescued through military operation without showing the pictures of the abductors, just as the Oyo school children have been rescued without showing the pictures of the captured kidnappers. 5. The federal government denied paying ransom for the release of the 344 Kankara students, just as the federal government has denied paying ransom for the release of the Oyo children. 6. Despite the statement made by the defense headquarters that the Kankara students were rescued, they were actually released through negotiation with the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association. It is also the case that the Oyo school children were probably released through negotiation. In short, they were released and not rescued. 7. If the abductors were forced to release the abducted children because they panicked following the arrest of their family members, then what led to the shootout that resulted in the deaths of a security personnel and some kidnappers? If they panicked and released the victims, then there was no need for a shootout. The explanation is not clear. 8. Thus, the victims were released through negotiation and not rescued by force. 9. The video being shown as evidence of the capture of the abductors is actually a documentary to promote the image of the security forces in the eyes of Nigerians. It has nothing to do with the kidnappers. The video did not show the alleged suspects the way suspects are often paraded for public exposure by the military and the police. Please show the pictures of the captured abductors the way the police, military, and the DSS often do to convince the public. The federal government need to convince the public that the Oyo school children were rescued militarily or not. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Please subscribe to the channel because there are several presentations that have been made on different interesting topics under the Knowledge Seeker channel. Thank you once again.